Worthy ones, I want to talk to you guys that just graduated from college and you're now in the process of trying to find a job. And I know we have a very tough job market right now, and I understand what you're going through because when I graduated in 2008, I graduated in the middle of the housing crash. We had a massive recession, and it was kind of like it is today. It slowly crept up on us. I applied for job after job, and it was very tough out there. So you guys out there that just graduated from college and you're struggling to find a job, hopefully this video can give you some hope to keep moving forward because I know it's very hard to do when you're feeling discouraged. What's up, it's Gene. This word to be great. You know, when you're done everything society told you to do, you went out to college, you worked hard in school, you got all your grades, you did everything your professor told you to do, people were cheering you on. And you walk across that stage, and when you're on the stage yourself at graduation, you realize that, wow, I don't really know what I want to do in my life. I'm sure a lot of you all probably didn't have a job set up. You probably dreading the fact that you have to get out there in the market, but you still have this excitement inside of you because you finally reached your milestone. You became a college graduate. But then the reality set in. You get home after the graduation, you're sitting there, and you probably turn on the television, you hear about layoffs, you hear about these tariffs and all these different things, and you start to feel this dread, this fear. Well, one thing I want to say to you is that don't take that on personally. What is going on is not your fault. You did everything you were supposed to do, but you still have to deal with the realization that looking for a job will feel like a job. You probably already out there right now. You're sending out job applications. You're not getting interviews. You're getting discouraged and you wondering if all the work you did in school was even worth it. And I want to say this to you because I remember when I was in that position, when I graduated in 2008, I did have a little job out of college. And that was right when the economy started really slowing down. And I worked at a gym. It was a job I could have got if I did not go to college, but I was there working. I did the best I could. I was applying for better jobs in my field, but I had a hard time finding those. But then an opportunity did pop up for me. I worked for an exercise clinic. I really loved that job. I was rehabbing people with cancer, HIV, diabetes. I was in charge of this clinic, and I was just living what I felt was a small dream, But then as I watched the layoffs on television every day, I used to think in the back of my mind, what if this happens to me? You know what I'm saying? What if I get laid off? And it didn't eventually happen. I got laid off of that job. And one thing I realized is that college never prepared me for a layoff. I never ever thought that with a college degree that I would be laid off from a job, or like many of y'all feeling right now, you wouldn't even be able to find a job. And I had to deal with the fact that, I had student loan debt. I wasn't having that much. I wasn't having no money coming in, and I got back into that very challenging thing of applying for job after job. And once again, I found myself applying for a job every day. I had filled out over 400 applications, and some of them would respond back, and I kept getting a message: "Oh, thanks for applying for this company, your qualifications don't match us," or "Thanks for applying for this company, but you don't have the experience we're looking for." And I remember thinking, how am I supposed to get experience if you don't give me an opportunity? And I know a lot of y'all feel like that right now, man. You just like, I just need an opportunity. I need a chance. And that's very, very, very tough to deal with because you like, I'm sitting here every day, or I'm working at a fast food restaurant. I put all this work in and nothing is happening for me. But I want to say this to you. Despite what's going on in the economy, do not stop applying for jobs. Do not stop putting yourself out there. As a matter of fact, I was talking to a friend of mine who graduated about 3 years ago, and he went and got a job at a warehouse. And he actually went to school to do aviation, but he was working at this warehouse. I'm not going to say the name of the company, but he was working his job, and he went to school to work with his mind, but he found himself working with his body. And we would text back and forth, and he would say, I would ask him, how many jobs are you applying for? And what was happening was he was becoming so discouraged, he wasn't applying for jobs. He was just, kind of conforming and going along with his job he hated. And then he started to settle in his mind. And I said to him, listen, if you settle in your mind on this job, you would never leave this job. You work too hard in school just to settle. Keep on applying for jobs in your field. So that's what he started to do. He had been there for a year. He was very frustrated. He was very discouraged, but he kept on applying for these jobs. And he finally got an opportunity to open up for him from a aviation company. And they was like, hey, you did a good job in the interview. We would like to bring you on. He sent me a text message and he told me about it, and we started celebrating. And then I asked him, I said, what does this company do? And he told me that they work with parts that come from China. Now, I knew at that moment that we was having tariffs on China. So I said to him, I said, listen, I'm not going to try to sound like the Debbie Downer, but you probably would need to do a little bit more research into this company and see how the tariffs is going to affect them as a corporation. And he did so. And unfortunately, before he even could get even more, before he could even research more about the corporation, they gave him a call and let him know that they could not bring him on because of tariffs, and they went into a hiring freeze. And these things happen, you finally got an opportunity, then something pops up that kills that opportunity. And just like my friend, you want to get very discouraged. You just want to give up. And I said to him, I said, man, I know this is a blow, man. I know you have put that work in. You have finally got an opportunity. Now you got this blow. But listen, don't let that discourage you. Keep on applying. Look for other opportunities out there. And that's what my friend is doing right now. Yeah, he don't like working at the warehouse. Yes, he worked so hard in college. He should be in the field in which he worked so hard to be in. But right now he has to deal with the fact that this is where he is, but he has to keep focusing on working hard so he can get out that situation. And so a lot of you guys, you may not have a job, or you have a job that is below what you actually work for in school. And I want to encourage you to stay on that job and keep applying for jobs. Don't get to the point that you just settle. You just say to yourself, oh, nothing's going to work out. I'm going to be here forever. I'm going to be in this predicament. Because if you start thinking that way, then you're going to stop taking action. And the truth is, nobody's going to save you. The only person that's going to get you the job that you want is you. And you have to be persistent. You have to be consistent. You have to tell yourself every day, I may not be in the situation I want to be in, but I'm going to keep working hard to get in a better situation. You see, when I was laid off for those 7 months, when I got laid off in 2010, it was extremely frustrated. I mean, my bank account was drying up. I was applying for all these jobs. I wasn't getting any interviews. And I got to the point that I just wanted to give up. I remember when I was at the gas station, actually, I did some temp jobs on the side. I had found some jobs. I went out there and cleaned some trash. I gave us some food samples. And I'll never forget, I came from this, I forgot what store I was at. But I did this temp job where you gave out food samples, and I had to wear this chef suit. I mean, I looked crazy, and but I enjoyed it though. But one thing I liked about it is sometimes I got pizza, and once you was done giving out your food samples, you could go home. And when I would have pizza, I just find the kids and say, "Hey man, come over and get some pizza." You know what I'm saying? Come get some pizza. You have as much as you can, and the kids would come get the pizza. They eat it up, and then I bounce. I'm out. But I remember one day I had some pizza at the store. I got done. The kids ate it all up. And I was driving home, and the car that I had at the time, the fuel gauge was a little messed up. So I couldn't tell how much gas I had in the car until sometimes I drive and I hear that little, if you ever ran out of gas, you know the noise. It's like cans in your gas tank go. So I heard that noise. So I pulled over to a gas station, and when I got into the gas station, I told the guy, I got my debit card out, and I swiped it. And no. Yeah, I swiped it, and then it told me clear. So I started pumping gas, and when it got to $3, the pump stopped. And so I was like, man, what's wrong with this pump? You know what I'm saying? I was tripping, what is wrong with this pump? Why does this pump stop? And I didn't know what was going on. And I was already frustrated. I was hot. And so I went into the store. I said, hey, man, the pump is broken out there. He was like, oh, no. Our pump is not broken. It's been working all day. I said, no, the pump is broken. And so I got very mad at the guy. And I was 2.5 miles away from the house. I wasn't that far away. And he was like, no, the pump is not broken. So I went back out there and I tried it again. I tried my card. It wouldn't work. So then I called the bank, and I realized that I had no more money in my account. I was on straight zero. I did some temp jobs. The payment didn't come in yet. I was totally broke. So I was at the gas station. I was like, man, I hope this $3 can get me home, dog. And I got in the car and I jumped in and I'm driving. I had a 1999 Cavalier. I'm driving this Cavalier and I'm scared that I'm going to run out of gas. And just so happened, I was able to make it home. And I remember when I got home and I was like, man, I remember thinking, man, it's got to get better than this. This cannot keep going. You know what I'm saying? And so instead of me just standing in bed feeling sorry for myself, I just kept applying for jobs, you know? And I did start to get some interviews. And one thing that I realized is that, you know, I was not preparing for the interviews as much as I should. Now, I want to warn a lot of you guys out there that when you're trying to, when you're going for these jobs, right, and you're getting out there and you're saying to yourself, you know, I want to, you know, do well. I want to have this job. And then you finally get that opportunity. Make sure you are prepared for the interview. Make sure you know everything about that company. When you get in that interview, you should talk so well that they think you actually work at the company already, you know, because you don't know when an X interview opportunity is going to come. And what I did is I used to practice after I bombed several interviews. I started practicing the mirror myself, you know, pretending that I was going through interviews, looking at my resume, keeping it updated, defending everything that I put on it, learning about the company. So you have to do these things because you don't know when an opportunity is going to come. But when an opportunity comes, you want to make sure you are prepared to take advantage of the opportunity. So I, you know, kept applying. I got several opportunities. They bombed. But then I found out about this wellness corporation, and they was looking for a guy that had my degree, and it was in the field I want to be in, which was the wellness industry. Now, the thing is that when I started looking at the opportunity itself, it wanted me to have like 5 or 10 years of experience. And I only had like 3.5 years of experience in my field. So that right there almost made me just not even attempt to go after the job. But I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to try to go after this job. I did the thing I'm telling you to do right now. I researched the company. I learned everything I could, and I kept applying. Now, one thing that I want to say to you that is very vital, you know, and this is something I did not know at the time. I was applying for this wellness company and I was hearing no responses, right? And then I started learning about these things called applicant tracking systems, which is software that actually screens your resume. So they have what's called a match rate or something like that. So if your resume is not, at least the match rate is like 70% or 80% in alignment with that job posting, it won't even make it to a person. So when I started learning about these applicant tracking systems and I started studying them, I started rewriting my resume to make it be in alignment with the job posting itself. So what I wound up doing with the wellness corporation is I applied 22 times. Like, the first 10 times I didn't hear nothing back. But those last 12, I started getting emails back. That was the applicant tracking system. But what I did not know is that the actual manager was getting my emails. You know, she was getting my emails. I sent her my resume sometime to a personal email. I was doing everything I could. I didn't just apply for it on the website. I sent her my email. I found her email through the corporation website. You know, I was doing all these different things. So I finally got a call from that manager, and she said, you know, I love your persistence. Now, I have seen your resume come across my desk 4 or 5 times. I'm not going to lie to you. I said, I don't know this guy. It's obvious you don't have the experience, but I just want to give him a shot. So that's what she did. Let me tell y'all something. I prepared for that interview. I learned everything I could about their corporation. I found about their new software. I knew about the CEO. I knew about how much money they was making. I mean, I was like an investor buying a stock. So when I got the interview itself and she was asking me questions about myself using my resume, I was able to tie my experience that I did have to what the corporation was actually doing. And the reason I was doing that is because I want to show her that I was going to be an asset and not a liability despite my lack of experience. And I used a lot of storytelling. I am a true believer that if you can get in an interview and you can use storytelling to, you know, highlight your experiences and how you can be an asset to the corporation and tie into what they're doing, it is one of the greatest things you can do. So that's what I did. I used a lot of storytelling. I did what I hijacked the interview. I was asking her questions about the company. I was telling her things I was learning about the new software. And what ended up happening is, despite not having the experience, I was hired on the spot. So I want to tell you guys out there, don't give up on yourself. There's an opportunity out there for you, but you have to be persistent. I know the economy is tough. I know the job market is tough. I wouldn't encourage you to watch the news every day, but have laser focus on the things you want to accomplish, the things you want to do, because that's what's going to help you to eventually get that job that you desire. We're going to have you might have a tough time. It might take a month. It might take a year. It may take, I don't know how long, but don't get to the point where you just sit at home. You don't do anything. You're frustrated. You just give up on yourself, because I guarantee you, nobody's going to come to save you. You're just going to be another college graduate without a job, and you're nobody and people are going to look down on you, because they're going to say that person have a degree, that person's educated, they don't have a job, they don't want a job. You know how people be acting when they see somebody that's educated and struggling, but I want to tell you, yes, you are educated. You worked your butt off. You deserve to have a job in your field. You deserve to enjoy the fruits of your labor. So do not stop looking for a job. Do not stop applying. Go to networking opportunities. If you could go back to your university and they have career centers, career fairs, go to career fairs. If they have a career center at your campus, go to career center or call them. But do whatever you can to keep applying for a job, because that's the only way you're going to eventually get a job. I just want to make this video because I know it's a lot of college graduates out there struggling to get a job. And I just want to give some words of encouragement, because we need you to succeed. You are the backbone of the economy. You are the backbone of the next generation. I'm a millennial, especially you guys from Generation Z. I need you to succeed, because as millennials, we cannot pull this economy by ourselves. But I feel like, as a person who has started a business, who has been through all that, who became an author, who's having some success in my life, that it will be a good service for me to give some words of encouragement for you guys that are, going through the very things that I had to overcome. So keep applying for those jobs. Keep holding on to your dreams. Keep believing in yourself, because you are worthy to be great. If you like this video, I want to ask you to like and share this video. Also, hit that bell so anytime I post a new video, you are notified. I also want to ask you to join my Word to Be Great newsletter. This newsletter is designed to help you build your self-worth, your self-discipline, your self-confidence, so you can achieve your dreams. So click the link below and join my newsletter today.